Hello sweet friends, welcome to the mid-July garden tour. I'm trying to do a garden tour every month on the 15th so that we can kind of track the progress. And if gardening is something that's new to you, you'll be able to see like, what does this look like in May? What does this look like in June? What does this look like in July? Now we have been in a drought. We just got rain the last couple of days. So I would say we haven't had the burst of anything quite yet, but it's coming. So let's just do a little walk around the garden. But we'll start right here on the edges. And this is the door in is right here. And then we've got these edges. Here's the door to the garden. And we start out with what's called the asparagus beds. And the asparagus beds run all the way down to basically one stick down there that I'll show you. So it is just filled with asparagus. Now we won't have asparagus for a few years. So this bed has been doing double, triple duty. And in June, it was filled with lettuce. And now we've got, so this, I believe this is a cucamelon here. And you can see, like, this is the asparagus. It gets like frondy. I've got a zinnia here, kind of getting squished by the sweet pea a little bit. I've got some straw flowers. They are absolutely gorgeous. Those stunning. More straw flower there. A daisy, some nasturtium, and then you can see this is where I cut back a lettuce and it's just regrowing. It just wants to grow. And then this is another of the heirloom painted lady runner beans. And the asparagus kind of falls over a little bit, so I tend to try to tuck it back up. This one doesn't want to go. This, I don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. And then we've got some cucumber, I think some beans, daisies, more cucamelon. And then this one is a mystery to me because when I planted this, I planted it in two different spots. It said it was clary sage on the seed packet, and this is what I got in both spots. This does not seem to be clary sage to me. So if anybody has any ideas of what this is, we'll go closer. But like, there's no flower. It's very bizarre. It almost reminds me of a rhubarb, like a very different kind of rhubarb. So I need to figure out what in the world I'm growing. And then as we come down, again, asparagus all mixed in, we've got an onion called ishikwa, and this is new to me, so I can't tell you too much about it because I've never grown them. But I've got some babies right there. I've got some amaranth, and then parsley, more straw flower, sage, a lettuce that's going to seed with some leeks behind it, a radish that's gone to seed, and you can see how beautiful those are. I'm going to try to capture the seeds from this one. More sage, the beautiful amaranth that we looked at yesterday in the garden walk, and then valerian. Now all the rows aren't this complicated. This is just what I've decided to do on these sides here. So there's a lot to look at over here. There's a ground cherry that's being eaten by something, a couple cucumbers, a summer squash, holy basil plant, a dill, and a lettuce that's going to seed, nasturtium, sage, and cucumber. So I'm hoping the cucumbers are going to stay away from this cucumber because it's surrounded by nasturtium, sage, and dill. And if that doesn't do it, I don't know what will. So if we continue our walk around, we've got strawberries, more asparagus in here. The peas were up climbing the fence and those have come down. We've got more cucumbers, a grape growing, the first year of a grape, tomatillas, more dill, a lot of like little straggler tomatoes. I can't remember if I showed you the fig tree. This is a bare root fig tree. My whole garden design was based on the fig tree being right here, and it has just taken off already. So just for reference, we're right by what was the pea tunnel, which will now be the bean tunnel. Beautiful zinnias. We've got potatoes, hollyhocks. The beans were just planted to climb up. We've got peppers tucked in there. I mean, this is like food foresty over here. Tomatoes, potatoes, strawberries. If I could plant it over there, I did. And these were the beans that just went in. There's two kinds, cowpeas and red long beans, tired long beans. You can see there's a lot of tomatoes. We should be eating tomatoes, I would say, in a couple of weeks. Then I've got these beautiful beans. They're really tasty. These are the beans that I didn't know what they were. I didn't know if it was a bush bean or not. So I ended up putting them along the fence, and I'm so glad I did because they are growing like crazy. And then the one blueberry plant, cucumbers back there. And then this is the incredible elderberry bush. I'm getting attacked by bugs. And then this is a summer squash back here, which leads right into potatoes. This is the second elderberry to make sure that it pollinates. Another painted lady runner bean, a squash, and then under here I've got parsnips, asters, tatsoi, which isn't doing great because it's being eaten, a lettuce going to seed, perpetual spinach, beans, and a new succession planting of lettuce called slow boat lettuce. So it's our bare tunnel right now, but it will be filled soon. So mostly this was supposed to be sweet potatoes, a couple regular potatoes snuck in. You can see the sweet potatoes are starting to grow up along the fence. They really haven't taken off yet, so hopefully soon they will. More sweet potatoes and then more regular potatoes there. So for reference, I'm standing beside the potato bed, looking at the tunnel, and I've got 6 rows in here. And these 2 rows just are not really producing much food. So I have some broccoli that never did anything more than that, but I'm just letting it be. I've got some cabbage. This was all covered, but I have taken the row cover off. More sweet potatoes, parsley. I mean, you can see the parsley here compared to the parsley that was over there with the asparagus in the asparagus bed is just night and day. Same thing with the tomatoes. The tomatoes over here are just teeny tiny. The onions over here are teeny tiny and nothing has worked. I've fertilized with fish emulsion and they just aren't doing anything. So these 2 rows need help. So I know that this will be my focus in the fall, that I've got to fix these 2 rows. So I've got a bunch of summer squash growing here. Summer squash doesn't do great for me. Oh, the bugs are coming out. All right, so then in this row, we've got eggplant and carrots, and then and a bunch of sunflowers, and then it leads into the rhubarb at the very end. And again, we're not really harvesting a lot. I've harvested a few stalks, but not a ton. And then in this row, we have a sunflower that actually I transplanted that was growing next to Dave's climbing rose. So I took this one out and I transplanted it and it actually did fine. So that was self-seeded. And then we've got a row of tomatoes, which we'll go look at a little closer. So we've got the eggplant and the carrots start here. But you can see the carrots are starting to fill out. There are some kind of forming underneath here. They still need a while. Oh, there's a bumblebee. Hi, bee. So the eggplant is doing well. We've got sunflowers. There's ground cherries that have volunteered all over the place. And I'm leaving as many in as I can because I had trouble growing them from seed this year. So you can see here's where all the rhubarb is a huge plant. And then we've got, I decided to try planting some spinach. It probably is too hot, but I tried anyway. And then we've got peppers, and they are starting to grow fruit, which is very exciting. So this is a whole mix of different peppers in here, and then just these gorgeous tomatoes. Unlike popular opinion on the internet and YouTube videos, I am not doing just one stem on my tomatoes. I'm pretty much letting them go unless I feel like they need to be thinned a little bit. Mostly I'm concentrating on thinning the bottom. Now the reason for this is when I did go down to just the one stem, the like leader, it backfired on us because we lost so many tomatoes because we had too much rain, and two, we had heat differences. It was like 90 degrees during the day and 50 degrees at night with that much rain. It was crazy weather. And so I just found that the flowers were just dying. They were turning brown and dropping off. So we lost all the fruit that we could have had basically from here up. No fruit. So this year I'm thinking, if I only get the fruit from here down, I want as much of it as possible. So this tomato can just grow. I am happy to let it go. And because we're not getting a lot of rain, we won't have the same kind of disease. We won't have the septoria leaf jumping in right away. It should be a while before that comes. And I know you hear, like, the only way to grow tomatoes is this. That's not true for anything. Nothing that you grow only has one way to grow it. So the next rows are kind of my brassicas, where I've had my kale, my cabbage, my spigariello, and I have now tucked in beans and spring onions. What else? There's a ground cherry growing down there. The kale's doing beautifully. And then in this row, which is getting eaten, which is basically the onion row, we've got onion and fennel. There's a self-seeded borage. A lot of parsley that we've already harvested. So these are probably my favorite rows. I was so happy when I could uncover this row of the brassicas so I could see it. The onions are doing beautifully. These are the biggest onions I've ever grown, and I imagine that next year I'll have even bigger ones because it'll be the third growing year. I just love these two rows so much. The kale is beautiful. Here's a fennel that's going to seed. It's about to flower. It is so tall. We've got a squash tucked in there. Parsley we've harvested from another squash. Got all our beans over here. More perpetual spinach, which I just adore. I made the fritters out of those. And then the fennel and more onion. And then all of the new baby seeds that I've planted in here. And soon we should have some asters blooming, so there'll be more flowers. Some of the flowers just take a lot longer. All right, so let's go look at the shorter rows that are on the other side. And then if you look out here, these are planted with potatoes. This is where the garlic was, and they're now planted with potatoes. I don't know if I'm gonna escape a million mosquito bites tonight. All right, so this is now, I'm standing in the walkway, and the walkway is where we have all the rows are planted with flowers at the very end. This is the winter squash growing over the other tunnels. It's doing pretty well. There's not a lot of fruit. This got really hit by cucumber beetle early on. I'm not sure what is actually going to come of it because of that. This is my little trick. I lose my tools all the time. So I have set down boards at the end of some of the rows. And if I'm going to put down a tool, I put it down on a board. That way, at least I know it'll be on some board, even if I don't know which board. So here we have another row of onions. You can see some of them have gotten so big and beautiful. I am thrilled. I just topped these. They were falling over all into the walkways. It was a huge mess, so I went ahead and topped them so I could have that food for onion powder. We've got some kale, calendula. This is where the fava beans were, and they are out and carrots are planted. I do see some seeds coming up, so that's exciting to know. We've got a sunflower, more calendula, more calendula. Now this in June was covered with lettuce. I took most of it out, but you can see some is still trying to come back. And these tomatoes just look gorgeous. They are doing so well. We're finally getting tomatoes that are growing tall with the flowers intact. So this, like I mentioned, this is when the flowers were turning brown, like flower, what's it called? Flower rot, flower drop, something like that. And it's just fluctuating temperatures. They can't handle those extreme temperatures. But this was the orach spinach, which I'm letting go to flower and seed. Got a dill right there, feverfew, some kale, and then we've got the infamous celery rows. So we've got celeriac right in here, a bunch of celery, the pink celery all bolted. So the pink celery had to come out, but it's trying to grow again. And this will be filled with bush beans. And then we popped in a bunch of peppers because this was actually supposed to be the pepper row. We don't have that many pepper plants, so it was fine to share with the celery. And this is the celeriac growing. So this is the pink celery, it bolted. This is not a pink celery and it bolted. So, I mean, it's just gonna be a tough celery year because it was so hot so early. And then the temperatures kind of normalized. Sage, more peppers. The asters are gonna bloom very soon. And then these are, I'm blanking on the name of them, the little roots that people either love or hate. I'm gonna have to put it on the screen because I don't know why my brain can't think of the name of it. They're supposed to grow these beautiful flowers, so we shall see if that happens. This is a celery that I let go to flower, and that's really pretty, but it's falling over. So here's the winter squash growing up and over. More of the little roots that I can't remember the name of right now. I don't know why. They're tubers, they're like little tubers that you plant. People roast them. They are called, goodness gracious, being in perimenopause is tough. All right, and then these were the carrots that I just said, reckless abandon. I'm going to throw them in, see what happens. And a lot of them germinated. We had some rain, so I think the rain kind of washed them like into these spots. I'm not gonna thin them. I am literally gonna leave them here and just let them be, and we'll see what happens. This is my cilantro that must come out. I probably should just pick this right now. I'm a little short. I should have done that like 3-4 days ago, but look how pretty it is when it flowers. Kohlrabi, I would say I'll be harvesting this in the next day or two. They are so sweet. I'm very excited about the kohlrabi. And then we've got like beets and turnips and rutabaga, and then a couple more summer squash down there. Lemon verbena, lavender, a new lavender this year, trying to fill this edge up with flowers and herbs. I would love for it to be very sort of medicinal. And this lines the chicken coop and the cottage garden. So here I'm standing just at the gate, and I'll just kind of scan. So this is, to me, this is right about when things start to pop again. So we've already had that first cycle. So it is going to be very bare soon. These onions will come out. We will be putting in little baby seedling. The tomatoes will go all seasons. We don't have to worry about that. The celery may have to come out soon because if it bolts, there's no point in leaving that in. And then everything planted over here, more peas have been planted along here to grow up the fence. So that should start soon. The beans should be coming in. And then we'll just be planting the fall garden, which is just crazy to think about. But that's what you do. It's what you do when food comes out, food goes in. If you're prepared, you don't have blank spots. When that celery, I left the roots in, but when that celery comes out, then you just pop in beans, pop, 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 and then you get beans growing there, or you've started them in seed trays. Well, that was the buggiest garden tour I have ever done. I am being eaten. I'm out of our natural bug spray. I need to get some more of it. And it's about 8 o'clock at night here. So it is time to go inside and make some dinner. Yes, dinner at 8 o'clock, but it'll be a fast one. And then we just have so much going on this weekend. We'll be running around all over the place. Okay, it's time to say goodbye. If you enjoyed this video, if you would give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, I would love to have you subscribe, be part of the community, and as always, say hello in the comments. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you.